As educators, we're often faced with the challenge of striking the right balance between imparting essential knowledge and nurturing critical skills. Should we focus on teaching skills, what to know, in other words, content, or how to think and apply what they know, which would be skills? Join us as we examine the pros and cons of these approaches and uncover the key factors every educator should consider when making this vital decision in the ever-evolving landscape of education. Welcome to episode 161 of the Teacher Rockstar Podcast, a place where tips and strategies critical to the new teacher are discussed. We share the latest educational research and best practices so that the new teacher can be better equipped for a successful classroom experience. I'm your host, Steve Hiles. In today's episode, we're going to be discussing teachers teaching skills versus content. Okay, but first, I've got a question for you. Are you a brand new teacher that just graduated out of college? Would you be interested in having somebody to mentor and guide you as you transition from college into the classroom? Well, if so, simply go to teacherclassroomresources.com/TRA mentorship to learn more about this exciting program. Okay, let's dive right in. I want to start with the basics here. Teachers have two fundamental roles, okay? They can teach skills or content, and often a combination of both. But what exactly do we mean by skills and content? You know, when we talk about teaching content, we're referring to knowledge, facts, and information that students need to know. This could include historical events, scientific theories, mathematical equations, literary works, and much more. Content is what traditionally fills textbooks and curriculum standards. Now, on the other hand, teaching skills centers on the development of abilities and competencies that go beyond just memorization, okay? These can be critical thinking, problem solving, communication, research, creativity, adaptability, and more. Skills are essential for students to apply their knowledge effectively and succeed in real-world situations. Now that we have a better understanding of the terms, I'd like to explore the pros and cons of teachers focusing on skills versus content, okay? Now, let's talk about teaching skills, the pros. There's four that I want to share with you. The first one being applicability. Teaching skills empower students to use their knowledge in practical situations. They can apply what they learn to solve problems and make informed decisions. The second thing is long-term learning. Skills often have a lasting impact. When students acquire skills like critical thinking or effective communication, they can use them throughout their lives. The third point, adaptability. In a rapidly changing world, teaching skills equips students to face new challenges with confidence. They become adaptable and ready to learn in any situation. And the fourth point is interdisciplinary. Skills are often transferable across subjects. For example, critical thinking can be applied in science, history, and literature. Now let's talk about the cons, and there's 2 points here. Number one, depth of knowledge. Focusing too much on skills might leave students with a shallow understanding of certain subjects. A balance is essential to ensure students grasp essential content. The second point here, assessment challenges. Assessing skills can be more challenging than evaluating content knowledge. Teachers need innovative approaches to measure progress effectively. Okay, now let's move on to teaching content. There's also 4 points I want to make here. Number one being foundation. Content provides students with the fundamental knowledge they need to build upon, okay? It's the basis for in-depth understanding of subjects. Second point, standardization. Content often aligns with standardized curricula and exams, making it easier to assess and compare students' performance. Moving on to the third point, subject mastery. Focusing on content allows students to become experts in specific fields, which can be important for specialized career paths. And the last point, cultural and historical awareness. Content can help students gain an understanding of their culture, history, and the world around them. Now, I do want to note two cons, to teaching content. Number one, rote memorization. Emphasizing content alone can lead to rote memorization without critical thinking or practical application. And the second point here, outdated information. In today's fast-paced world, some content can quickly become outdated, making it less relevant. Now, it's clear that there are merits to both approaches. The real question is, how can educators strike the right balance between teaching skills and content? Let's consider some important factors that educators should take into account. Number one, curriculum goals. Educators should align their teaching approach with the goals of the curriculum. Some curricula may emphasize content more heavily, while others prioritize skill development. Teachers need to understand these goals and tailor their instruction accordingly. Number two, student needs. Different students have varying learning needs and preferences. It's essential to consider the individual learning styles, abilities, and backgrounds of students when deciding how to balance both skills and content in the classroom. I think that's a very critical point here. Moving on to number three, real-world relevance. Teachers should ask themselves whether the skills and content that they are teaching have real-world relevance. Emphasizing skills that are immediately applicable in students' lives can enhance their engagement and motivation. Point 4. Interdisciplinary approaches. Consider how skills and content can complement each other. For example, a history lesson can teach both historical content and the skill of analyzing primary sources. Number 5. Continuous assessment. Adopt innovative assessment methods to evaluate both skills and content effectively. Formative assessments, peer evaluations, and project-based assessments can provide a more comprehensive view of students' progress. Number 6, professional development. Teachers should engage in ongoing professional development to stay current with best practices in both content and skill-based instruction. This ensures that they are well equipped to make informed decisions. So, in conclusion, the debate between teachers teaching skills versus content is not about choosing one over the other, but finding the right balance that best serves the educational needs of students. And I think that's the main point here. The ideal approach may vary from one classroom to another, depending on factors like curriculum goals, student needs, and real-world relevance. As educators, our ultimate goal should be to equip students with the knowledge and skills they need to thrive in an ever-changing world. This requires a thoughtful approach that integrates content and skills, creating well-rounded and adaptable learners. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Teacher Rockstar Podcast. I'm your host, Steve Hiles. We hope this discussion has shed light on the complex dynamics of teaching skills versus content. I want you to remember that both have their rightful place in education, and the key here is to strike a harmonious balance. Well, my friend, there you have it. We have come to the end of today's episode. Now, I have some important news for you. First and foremost, if you enjoy our podcast and want to stay connected with us, there are now even more ways in which you can do so. You can find us on several popular podcast platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Chrome, iHeartRadio, and a host of other platforms. But that's not all. We know that many of you enjoy more than just the audio experience. For additional videos, behind-the-scenes content, and to connect with me and the rest of our community, make sure to follow us on YouTube. You can find us by typing @TeacherRockstar in the search bar. Hit that subscribe button and join in on the fun. When you get a moment, visit my website and subscribe to my newsletter for the latest educational research, best practices, and while you're there, grab our monthly freebie. Go to teacherclassroomresources.com to sign up. And don't forget to subscribe to us at the Teacher Rockstar Podcast, and if you'd like to support us, please feel free to share our podcast with others. Post about it on social media and leave a rating and review. That would be greatly appreciated as always. Thanks again. We'll see you same time, same place next week. And remember, my friend, you got this.
the Teacher Rockstar Podcast, with your host, Steve Hiles. We hope you've enjoyed this episode as much as we have. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and join our growing community of Teacher Rockstars. Until then, thanks for listening.